Both South Carolina and NC State take care of business and head to the Final Four. What is up, awesome people of the internet? We're going to recap Sunday's Elite Eight games. All right, and before we do, actually, I just want to say shout out to the people at Patreon who are supporting this channel monthly. If you want to join us on Patreon, you can do so at patreon.com/QuitaLoveSports. Anyway, let's get into it. So this was Sunday's Elite Eight games. We saw South Carolina defeat Oregon State 70-58. Now, this first half of the game was pretty close throughout. And at halftime, South Carolina was winning, yes, but they only led by 4 points. And that was because of the ball movement and three-point shooting of Oregon State. Now, even though Tamia Gardner and Reagan Beers for Oregon State were in foul trouble throughout the entire game, especially that first half, the team did a great job of hitting timely baskets and ensuring that the game did not get out of hand. And the interesting thing is, if you were watching that first half and you weren't looking at the score, you probably thought, man, South Carolina has a massive lead, because they were running and they were forcing turnovers and they were hitting shots. And overall, South Carolina did control the first half, but Oregon State was still right there. Then came the middle of the third quarter where South Carolina went on a 12-0 run. First, it was Raven Johnson who hit a three. Then it was Tessa Johnson, no relation, who hit a three as well. Tessa comes back, hits a jumper. Saniya gets in the action, gets a two-pointer. Then she gets a rebound, gets a putback, 2 more points on the board. That 3 minutes of scoring onslaught was just so insurmountable for Oregon State to sort of come back from, and they just couldn't overcome it. In the fourth quarter of the game, it was basically over from there after that third quarter. And for South Carolina, they win this game once again because of their bench mob, who once again has outscored the starters. For the game, we saw Watkins come off the bench and had some instant production with, throughout the entire game. She had 8 points, 8 rebounds, 4 blocks, and a steal. So if you're looking at that, you're probably like, she did okay. But if you actually watched the game, you saw how many times she was just so impactful, way more than the stat sheet says. She was tipping rebounds to her teammates' direction. She was altering shots. And ultimately, her hands were just in the passing lane. And it felt like Ashlyn Watkins was active in just about every single play for South Carolina.
What did you tell Coach Staley after the Indiana game? You promised her something. What was it, and how did you live up to it today?
I told her that I was going to have more energy. I was going to be there for my team, and I feel like I lived up to that today. I was just everywhere. I wanted to be everywhere. I wanted to get every rebound, and I did. I almost did.
On offense and defense, Tessa Johnson also gave the squad some big minutes. She hit 2 big three-pointers. She went to the free throw line, and she ultimately finished the game with 15 points.
Talk about your growth process. Coach Staley has talked about this year, your growth process this year, and how that sort of got you ready for a big moment like today, leading the Gamecocks in scoring in an Elite Eight game.
Practices, I struggle a little bit in practices, but just being able to, look past it and learn from my mistakes, and having my teammates helping me and my coaches helping me, and just having a growth mindset. I think I'm struggling with my mindset a lot, so being able to grow with my mindset is the biggest piece.
Malaysia Fulwiley and Saniya Fagan also gave some great minutes off the bench, finishing with 8 points and 7 points respectively. And for the starters, once again, South Carolina sees success when they give Kamilla Cardoso the ball. She finishes the game with 12 points and 9 rebounds. And overall, Kamilla Cardoso wins the region's Most Outstanding Player award.
Kamilla's maturation process has been just on an upward trajectory. She had to play behind, a National Player of the Year, National Defensive Player of the Year for 2 out of the past 3 years. And sometimes that can put you in a position of playing a backseat. And she did it quite nicely, because she doesn't ruffle anybody's feathers. We got to actually make her be who we need her to be and who she needs to be for us and for the next level. I think at times she's fought that, and there's other times where she's embraced it. And that's just the journey, the process of being great and being dominant. If it was all just, smooth and easy, anybody could do it. So we're able to push her buttons in ways in which produces growth. And then it wasn't always just up. I mean, she would take 1 step forward, 2 steps back, and 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And it's been a really good, I think it's a good process for young, especially young post players, because they take a little bit longer to get things going.
Now, if you're Oregon State, you have nothing to hold your hat on. They had great production in that first half, and they got the plays that they wanted in the second half. It's just that the shots did not fall their way. Fouls did limit the team, with Reagan Beers and Tamia Gardner and Donovan Hunter playing most of the game in foul trouble, which forced them to adjust the way that they played defense to avoid getting fouls.
Specifically the Reagan-Kamilla matchup, how tough is it to officiate a battle down low like that, and how do you think that went?
Well, I would have liked Ray to be able to play a little more free in this game. And 3 fouls in the first half, nobody wants to see that. And the way the game was going, I felt like my hand was kind of forced to have her out there in that second quarter to finish up, to stay close. And so, when your back's to the wall like that, you got to roll the dice a little bit, And so, I loved the battle. I mean, that's what everybody wants to see, right? Nobody wants to see, foul trouble. You just want to see them go at each other, and as long as it's logical, let it happen. Just let them play, and not. I don't want fouls, but I want it to be, what everybody would want it to be, common sense. I don't know if that left the building or not, today, but that's what I wanted to see. When it was like that, it was fantastic. Those are 2 great players that are so skilled and so talented, and have systems that are built to feature them both, And so this time of the year, you pray to see the best go at it, and that's great sport, So when it was like that, it was great sport.
Reagan did finish the game with a team high of 16 points and 8 rebounds. Also, she had 3 blocks as well. And shout out to Lily Hansford, who really did her thing, especially in that first half. She finished the game with 4 3-pointers and 12 points. She was trying to get those 3-pointers hitting late in the fourth. It just didn't come their way.
This team it rivals any team I've ever been a part of. What they did this year is not common. It's not normal. We're not supposed to be here, but we are. And the people in the room get it. Not surprised by it. And you all got to see it today. A fearless, gritty, tough display of competitive fire and passion and togetherness that is as inspiring as anything. What's more inspiring than what you all just watched? And those of you who have been paying attention, which is not most of you, all year long, you would know that from day one. If you were with us in Italy, you would have seen what you saw today. Passion, unbelievable energy, togetherness, and a competitive fire that's just not normal. And so down 12 going into the fourth quarter, so, that's all I had to say. We're down 12 to the number 1 team starting the fourth quarter. Let's go. Can we do it? And so just fearless, courageous, together, everything that's right is this team. In our sport, where it seems like controversy is the flavor all the time for some reason, and we all have to have something to whine about, this team just keeps it simple and does everything right. And y'all are probably bored with it. Shame on you, is what I'd say. Everybody needs to get to know this team, everybody needs to watch this team, and everybody needs to be like this team. The world would be better if everyone focused on this instead of a lot of the other things.
What made you guys gel together, and what do you think the future is for this program going forward with Scott?
Yeah, I think the future's super bright, and we don't focus too much on the portal, and obviously that's become more of a thing in college basketball, but that's not something that we really discuss too much. We're focused on, ourselves, our program, our culture, and growing that. And all year with conference realignment, all the things that could be distractions or things that you could talk about, we've just put our heads down and controlled what we can control and got to work and stayed together and stayed connected, and it's gotten us really far.
I would just second that. I mean, Talia alluded to it at the beginning of this season. Her saying for our team was helmets on. So block out anything on the sides that could distract us this season to get us here. And we went back to that before a lot of different games, just helmets on. Ignore the crowd, ignore the refs, ignore the other team. Focus on each other, because that's when we're at our best, when we love each other and we're playing for each other. And so that's been our focus all year. And as she said, that's what has gotten us this far.
And that was a ball game. South Carolina just does their thing. Again, winners win, and that's what South Carolina does. They are now on to the Final Four again.
It's 4 straight years I think you've made it that far. Last year you guys were undefeated also at this point. What does it mean to get this group to the Final Four? And what, if anything, did you learn last year that you might be able to apply to this year to get further?
Just proud because we beat the odds. I mean, the odds said that we weren't, we shouldn't make it back to the Final Four. Just proud of our team and for them believing in themselves. They created a certain level of chemistry and culture, and they stuck with it. And then they allowed us to coach them, and they trusted us to coach them, even when it didn't feel good to them personally at different times of the season. And then overall, I just think that I think God has a funny way of dealing with people, and I'm one of his. And for us to lose the way we lost last year, and for him to bring us to this point today, makes me believe a little bit deeper. And it strengthens my faith in who he is, because, I mean, it's I don't know what the Bible verse is, but I know that when you're at your worst and your weakest moments, he's at his best. And he started working on that the day that buzzer sound last year during this time. So I am proud of our team, and I don't want to ever not give God the glory for giving us uncommon favor.
All right, now on to the other game of the day, where NC State defeated Texas 76-66. Now, before we actually get into the game itself, I do want to talk about a thing that happened before the game. So let's talk about the three-point line gate. Before the game started, the officials discovered that the three-point line was not the same on both sides of the floor. And that's pretty problematic, right? You would think that is a very important thing that someone would have checked, but no. And even more problematic is the fact that 4 games have already been played on that court before they even noticed it. So the Sweet 16, all the Sweet 16 games were played on that court on Friday and Saturday, and no one noticed. According to the NCAA, they said the NCAA was notified on Sunday that the three-point lines on the court at the Moda Center in Portland are not the same distance. The NCAA staff and women's basketball committee members on site consulted with the 2 head coaches who were made aware of the discrepancy. All parties elected to play a complete game on the court as is, rather than correcting the court and delaying the game. That is what Lynn Holzman said. She is the NCAA's vice president of women's basketball. And she also said, while the NCAA's vendor has apologized for the error, we will investigate how this happened in the first place. Which is like a duh, absolutely, you should. The NCAA is working now to ensure the accuracy of all court markings for future games, which you would think is something that they would already do, but no, not the case. She also said, we are not aware of any other issues at any of the prior sites for men's or women's tournament games. We apologize for the error that was found and the technicians on site at the Moda Center in Portland who were instructed to make the necessary corrections immediately following Sunday's game. So yeah, that is what they said in a statement, which, you know, great, they made a statement, but at the same time, it is kind of crazy. So that happened, and I absolutely cannot believe that the NCAA had a vendor put down the floor. No one checked it until yesterday. You've already played games on it already, and I just find it kind of crazy, the fact that this happens, and I can't imagine this happening to the men's tournament, and it not being caught sooner. So yeah, that's a thing, and that's something that the teams have to deal with, and they didn't really have a choice but to play, because yes, they said the coaches agreed to play on with the game, but what other choice did they have? They didn't really have a choice, because what were they going to do? Delay the game for until that evening, or it was already evening basically. Delay the game until like a Monday game. Like, what were you going to do? It was unrealistic to actually push the game back. What would have been better is for the NCAA, after the vendor lays down the floor and after they do whatever you hired them to do, before you send that final paycheck, maybe you're checking to make sure they did everything right. But, that's just a thought.
Can you talk to us about the three-point line that you were told before the game, and did it matter if it had been right? Do you think that maybe Aziaha James wouldn't have hit all those threes? None of us know what the actual measurements were. Maybe you do and could share with us.
Yeah, I was notified, I don't know, I think my kids were warming up, that there was a discrepancy, and so I think it's about a foot from one end to the other. But they gave us the option of bringing somebody in and remarking it correctly, which would have taken an hour, and we might have lost our window with ABC, or playing how it was. Wes wanted to play, and we played. I mean, I wasn't going to be the guy that goes, no, I don't want to do it. So, I don't really, you want to know if I think it had anything to do with the game? Probably not. But I really would have loved to have done what I normally do my last 12 minutes before a game, instead of walking around out there trying to see if the floor's screwed up.
Were you in the locker room?
Yeah.
Good. Vic, why did you not want to take the delay to get it right?
Well, our kids had already warmed up. It would have been a minimum hour, because they were going to have to bring somebody in from outside, and the potential of losing our window on ABC. Danny, if I would have done it, I'd have been the only one in the room that wanted to do it. And again, at the end of the day, when we went out there and analyzed it, at the end of the day, we'd already played a game on it, and we both won, and so we just decided to play.
Okay, first of all, Aziaha, did you know about the three-point line discrepancy thing?
No, we were just there to play our game. That's it.
Okay, so given how well you shot, would it have mattered where the three-point line was today?
Not at all. Not at all.
They don't shoot at that thing anyway, so it don't matter. I tell them to move in every day.
With the three-point line situation, which one was correct, and have the lines been painted like this all week?
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind now. I mean, it's, again, we were, the line on the Texas bench's end was correct. The line on our end was probably a little bit short. And at first, Vic was hesitant about it, and then he finally said, I didn't want to wait an hour or something to play the game. I was ready to get going. But Vic probably figured out, you know what, this line down here is what we're used to. That line down there isn't. But and if you'll look, I think we shot the ball better on the other end both games, because that's the normal line. But I'm not going to blame it on that. I mean, these kids, like I said, they shoot so far behind it sometimes nowadays, who knows where the line is. So You know, it is an unusual situation, but like I said, I don't know that it was an advantage or disadvantage either way. We both played a half on each end.
Was it like that all week?
Huh?
To your knowledge, were they painted like that all like this whole time?
I'm sorry, what?
Sorry. Yeah. To your knowledge, have they been painted like this entire time we've been here?
Oh yeah. Yeah, they didn't paint them overnight.
All right, now on to the actual game itself. The game actually felt like it was over right from the jump, and that was because of one person, Aziaha James. In the first half, Aziaha had 5 3-pointers, and it was like she was on fire. She couldn't really miss for a long period of time, and there really wasn't anything Texas could do to slow her down. She finished the game with 7 3-pointers in this game. She made 27 points, 6 rebounds, 4 assists. And a fun little fact is that Aziaha scored or assisted on 13 of NC State's 24 field goals. Talk about impact. Amazing job from Aziaha James.
I saw you in an interview online, and a woman asked you, you shot well against Stanford. Can you do it again?
Yes.
And you, without hesitation, said yes. Where do you get that confidence from in your shot? It's like you've been playing in this gym before.
You know, I just keep my head up, you know. You never know what can happen. And I just kept going. My confidence was going in as the shots was going in. So later in the game, you know, they just kept hitting for me. So I just kept shooting.
Wes, you have 2 kids who were on the roster today that were on the roster 2 years ago. Aziaha is one of them, but she didn't play in that game. And she said, you know, no one knew my name. Right. There's a lot of kids that go into the portal that don't want to wait. Just what was it like to watch her have this performance on this stage, knowing that she decided to stick around and believe in you and believe in this program?
Yeah, that's a great point. It's just really hard. And again, I get it. I mean, it's our job, but you know, I'm used to kids coming in. It's a big jump from high school. These kids, freshmen, were playing high school ball, and now they're on this stage playing against players that will be in the WNBA next year. And it's a big jump. And you hope that they'll be patient because, you know, I notice all the teams early in the year you're playing a lot of freshmen, and then when you get to this time of year, your depth is kind of shrunk down a little bit. Your rotation, I guess I should say, is shrunk down, and it's hard on them. And you hope that they'll stick around. You know, they're going to be better a year from now. They're going to play more a year from now at your place. But they may decide, I can't wait. I'm going to jump. And so it is different. You know, I'm used to seeing kids develop, and Aziaha is an unbelievable example. You know, her freshman year, great player out of high school. I mean, big-time player. But freshman year kind of had to work her way in. Last year she got more time. Probably should have got even more if I hadn't have been so, you know, adamant about playing veterans. And now here she is reaping the benefits. And, yeah, it's really awesome. She's worked so hard over the summer. And like I said, her confidence, she was, you know, she used to maybe hang her head if things didn't go well, if a shot didn't go in, if I got on her. But, you know, now she is a woman, and she handles adversity and keeps coming back.
But for NC State, it wasn't just Aziaha doing her thing. It was Mimi Collins, who hit 2 3-pointers off her own. She finished with 10 points. It was River Baldwin getting buckets in the paint and finishing with 16 points. It was Saniya Rivers hitting shots as well. Even though she wasn't the most efficient last night, she did add 11 points to NC State's total. And once again, the freshman, Zoe Brooks, continues to impress me. She came off the bench and made a positive impact for her team. She finished with 10 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. And with all of that, NC State gets the upset win over Texas. Now for the Longhorns, they struggled to contain NC State on defense. And on offense, they weren't efficient as they needed to, especially with NC State hitting those threes. Vic Schaefer needed more from Madison Booker, Aaliyah Moore, and Shaylee Gonzalez for this team to win. And that just didn't happen. I mean, they played well enough, but not well enough to counteract the 3-point shooting of NC State. For the squad, you had freshman Madison Booker, who led her team with 17 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Aaliyah Moore had a very inefficient night, 10 points and 9 rebounds. And Shaylee Gonzalez, who usually is able to add the Longhorns 9 points, she went scoreless. She was 0 of 6 from the field, and that's why Texas lost. NC State was able to hit 3-pointers. And yes, Texas had more field goals than NC State, but their field goals were basically all 2-point shots. And you can't counteract a hot 3-point shooting team with inefficient 2-point shots. But, Texas should hold their head high because they became a 1 seed in this tournament. And they became a 1 seed even after losing their star point guard early in the season. Texas has a great core of players. And I cannot wait to see Texas play next year because they're going to be even better than they are this year. And guys, they are switching conferences. So yeah, that is, there's definite positives that Texas should come out with in this game. Because Rory Harmon is going to be back next year. And I can't wait to see her and Madison Booker play the entire season together. It's going to be fun to watch. We will see Texas back in the future for sure.
We're going to give God the glory in victory, and we're going to give him the glory in defeat. It wasn't our day. We out-rebounded them. 14 on the offensive boards, 13 overall. We got 20 more shots than they got. The first half we really struggled guarding, defensively. But man, we're all disappointed. I mean, that locker room's no fun. It's rough. But as I told Shay, coming off the floor, this group has done so much, has accomplished so much. I will not let them or anyone take away from what they've been able to do this season with the things that have happened. This group's amazing. It wasn't our day. We didn't, we take great pride in being, tough. And tough doesn't have anything to do with how much weight you can lift. Today, we probably weren't as tough as we've been in the past over the last 2 months. But again, it's not like we woke up and went, hey, we're not going to be tough today. It happens sometimes in athletics. But these kids played their heart out today. And again, maybe didn't play well. You give our opponent credit for that a little bit. And then, again, sometimes these things happen. It's probably the worst we've played all, 2 months? I mean, we smoked a lot of really good looks in the first half. We didn't guard. If we don't change that and we make 3 shots, it's 43-39 instead of 31. And you can go down the list of how many really good looks we had, who had them, and all that. So sometimes, I don't know why, it's just not in the cards. And I don't think, again, when you look at 20 more shots, I mean, they outshot us at the free throw line 25-11. But we outscored them in the paint 44-24. Outscored them the second half. But we got popped early, didn't really handle that well. Again, probably could have easily been a 4-point game, 2-point game at half. And this group is, just because they dropped one today, doesn't make them any less special, doesn't make them any less remarkable, doesn't make them any less of who they've been all year long. Shaylee Gonzalez should be up here. She's the most incredible young lady. What she's brought to our program, the impact, the presence that she has, so far-reaching and everlasting. Been here 2 short years. I can't believe she's already been here 2 years and she's not going to be back next year. Would love to have had her for all 6, Grandma. But just, we don't win without her. We don't win without all these kids. Shay Holly had to go from being our third defender on the perimeter, being number one, and just welcomed it with open arms and did it. So we've had a lot of kids step up. Tonight wasn't our night. Give North Carolina State credit. But doesn't make it any less of the season that we've had today, and it doesn't make these young ladies any less of the competitors they've been throughout the course of the season, or any less of the champion that they are. These kids are truly champions.
And, I think this is my, this is my first season. It didn't go the way I wanted, but I think it's a lot to learn from this season also. I'm just grateful to be here, blessed. My teammates are, they're the best. It don't feel good, but it'll definitely push me in the future.
I think somebody told me that they haven't won 33 games at Texas since 1987, 88. And you think about all the history and the tradition of Texas women's basketball and all that, and this team did something that hasn't been done in 40 years. Come on. And did it under some really challenging situations. So we'll be back. I can say that with great confidence. If we lose Shaylee and Hattie, the class that we have coming in, Rory back healthy, and everybody else a year older and a year wiser, I'll be sitting here next March 31st. Is that what today is? We think so. There you go. I mean, I always say if I'm doing my job, I'm playing to April. I almost got there. But if you know anything about this group, anything about this team, those kids are so special, man. They're some of the best kids I've ever been around in my life. So I'm heartbroken for them because I wanted them to experience, going to the Final Four, playing in that game. But at the same time, I couldn't be prouder of a group.
Now for NC State, they move on, and Saniya Rivers will face her former team in the Final Four. So we will see NC State versus South Carolina in the Final Four. So very, very exciting news, guys. That is your recap for Sunday's Elite Eight games. I hope you enjoyed watching those games. I hope you enjoyed this recap. If you did, please hit that like button. That would be absolutely phenomenal. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, if you can subscribe, that would be great as well. This has been Quita talking about Sunday's version of the Elite Eight. Guys, we have a huge day of women's basketball headed for Monday. So, yeah, let's get into it. Until next time, guys. Bye.